Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another week. This week we're working on math, and the lesson that we're going to work on is an introduction to angles. We're going to talk about what are the different types of angles and what exactly an angle is. So to get started, we're going to talk about who uses them and how exactly we classify them or break them into categories. There are many different types of people that use angles. Engineers. These are people that are responsible for city planning. Architects. These are people that design buildings. Trade workers. These are people in the construction industry. Artists. So anybody that designs or creates art. Athletes. If you wanted to play basketball, you actually have to have an idea of angles if you're passing or making a shot. And everyday people need to be able to understand how to use angles. Even if you're doing something as simple as hanging curtains in your house, you want to make sure that they're hung straight and not crooked. So how do we classify angles, or what kinds of angles are there? Well, angles are grouped by their size, and we're going to get into the different types. In fact, there are 6 different types of angles that we're going to talk about. But before we can talk about the types, we need to understand what really is an angle. So in this picture, you see an angle. You have 3 points, point A, point B, and point C. And those actually show us the name of the angle. Whenever you name an angle, you have to go in order. It doesn't matter which arrow you begin with, but you have to begin on an arrow. So this is angle ABC, and you really could call it angle CBA if you wanted to, but more commonly, the letters will go in alphabetical order. Over here, you have the vertex. This is a point that is shared by the 2 sides of the angle. So the vertex is a shared point. The sides of the angle are made up of rays. So you have side BC, because this is ray BC. You probably remember a couple weeks ago we had a lesson about lines, segments, and rays. Well, now that's coming back. So you need to remember what you learned, and now you're going to use it this week for angles. And on the side over here, you have ray BA, which is another side of the angle. So you don't have to call it a ray every time you refer to it. You can call that a side now that it's formed an angle. And then in the inside here, this little line is telling you where you want to measure. You have the inside or the outside of the angle. So you need to make sure where you're supposed to measure in order to give an accurate answer. So this little line is going to indicate where you should put your protractor if you were going to measure an angle. A protractor is a tool that looks like a half circle. This is a protractor, and it measures from 0 to 180 as a half circle, or we can measure it 360 degrees as a full circle. Angles are measured in degrees because an angle is telling you how much of a circle is being used. What are angles made of? Is it A, 2 rays that join at a vertex? B, triangles that have a reduced side? C, 3 lines that form a polygon? Or D, 2 segments that meet at the apex? So now we're going to get into our 6 types of angles, and we're going to go in size order. So we're going to begin with the smallest type of angle, and that is called an acute angle. Here are 3 images of acute angles. You'll notice that each one has a vertex, a measurement indicator, and 2 rays that make up the sides. So the acute angle is the smallest type, and for our measurement we have rules. It has to be greater than 0. There is no such thing as an angle with 0 degrees. In fact, if you had that, it would just be 1 ray by itself. But an acute angle cannot go up to 90. It could be 89.99999 repeating, but it cannot be 90. So it has to be more than 0, meaning it could even be a decimal. It could be something like 0.5, could be 0.001, just cannot be 0. And it cannot be 90, it has to be less. What is the range of size for an acute angle? Is it A, greater than 0 but less than 360 degrees? Is it B, greater than 90 but less than 100 degrees? Is it C, greater than 360 but less than 0 degrees? Or is it D, greater than 0 but less than 90 degrees? Next in size, we have right angles. The right angle is very, very important in the construction industry because the right angle is what gives you the concept of level, plumb, and square. A right angle can only ever have one measurement. It has to be precisely, exactly, specifically 90 degrees. And you'll notice that there's no curved line to show you where to measure on a 90-degree angle. It's a square. And that has to do with the principle of level, plumb, and square. So if you ever see an angle with a square symbol here, you don't even have to measure it. You automatically know it's a dead giveaway for 90 degrees, right angle. Sometimes people get confused and they think, oh, if it's a right angle, it must always open towards the right. And that's not true. If you look at this picture here, it's open towards the left. You just need to know how many degrees are between the two sides of the angle here on the inside. Okay, so your right angle is very specific. It can only ever be 90. Which of the following is false or not true about right angles? Is it A, right angles can only ever measure 90 degrees? B, right angles must always face right? C, right angles have a square to indicate their measure? Or D, right angles help determine level and plumb? Our next type of angle is an obtuse angle. Sometimes people will think of the word open because it also starts with the letter O, and an obtuse angle can resemble an open book. Obtuse angles have a wide range. They have to be greater than 90, but they must be less than 180. So you see here, this one is open wide, but this angle is open even wider. And they can be facing in any direction. So you see this one looks almost like it's a almost vertical angle. And we see that they cannot go up to 180. They must be less. So it could be something like 179.5, 179.9, but it just can't go up to 180. That'll bring us to a new kind of angle that we'll get to in a moment. What is the maximum measure of an obtuse angle? Is it A, 90.00000001 degree? B, 360 degrees? C, 45 degrees? Or D, 179.9 repeating degrees? Now we'll talk about straight angles. A straight angle is another one that can only ever have one measurement. Remember how we talked about right angles only are ever going to be 90? Well, this is a similar concept. Straight angles are only ever going to be 180 degrees. In fact, a straight angle looks like a straight line. So that one's not so hard to remember the name of because it's a straight shot. 180 degrees is half of a circle. Remember we talked about the protractor before? And we saw that our protractor was a half circle. Well, look, the highest number on your protractor is 180. Our protractor measures angles. So 180 is half of a circle. And if you look at the measurement indicator here, this little curved line, aside from my poor art skills, it looks like a half circle. You could have put that line or that curved indicator on either side of your straight angle because it is splitting the circle in half. So either side is going to be 180 degrees. A straight angle looks just like a line, except there will be a point on it. That point is the vertex of your angle. It's where side 1 meets side 2 in your angle. How many degrees are in the measurement of a straight angle? Is it A, 58 degrees, B, 180 degrees, C, 270 degrees, or D, 90 degrees? Next, we come to the reflex angle. This one is not as commonly known. However, it is important to be able to measure it. Now this time, when you look at your measurement indicator here, it's going around the outside of the angle. This is a change in perspective because our other angles that we looked at were measuring the inside. Now you need to look at the exterior, the outside. Sometimes people think this looks like a Pac-Man. The measure of a reflex angle must be greater than 180 degrees, but it must be less than 360. This is a very large range. So if I said something like 190, it would be reflex. If I said something like 200, it's reflex. Anything between these two numbers, 325, reflex. 359.9, reflex. All of those numbers that fall between these two are going to be reflex angles. And you see, they can look very different from one another. So if I wasn't being careful and I didn't measure the outside, I might think that was a right angle. However, you need to measure the outside. This almost looks like an obtuse angle, but I need to remember to look at where I'm measuring. And this third one up here almost looks like it would be an acute angle, but again, we're measuring the outside. So you have to be very careful to pay attention to that measurement indicator, that curved line, or sometimes a square. What is being measured by a reflex angle? Is it A, the length of the rays of the angle? B, the size of the rotation of the rays? C, the outside of the rays? Or D, the perimeter of the shape? Our last type of angle that we're going to talk about is not used very commonly because it doesn't actually look like an angle. However, it is important to know. So a rotation is when you have two rays that lie right on top of one another. So you can see here my dotted line showing you that there are two rays. One is on the bottom, so it's covered and you can't see it, and the top one spun all the way around 360 degrees and has completed a full rotation. This is what it's looking like as you draw it. Okay, so it's going to look as though there's one ray, although technically there are two, and you'll see a full rotation of 360 degrees around the vertex of the angle. There is another math word for a rotation. Mathematicians will refer to this as a perigon. So that's an important word that you might see somewhere, like in a math textbook or on a test. So a perigon has to do with gon, meaning shape, G-O-N. We know that from our 2D and 3D shapes we talked about, right? We had hectagon, octagon, nonagon. Peri means to go around something. So this rotation is going around. Okay. What is the technical name of a rotation? Is it A, polygon, B, octagon, C, revolution, or D, perigon? And one last challenge for you here. You're going to name one of the 6 types of angles that we talked about. So you're just going to write the word, the name of one of the kinds of angles we talked about, and then you're going to give me a measurement that would match that type of angle. So you're going to type a word, and then you're going to type a number. Okay, the name of a type of an angle, and then a number that would fall in that category. Have a great day. If you have any questions, please remember to contact me. You have my email and you have my Google Voice number. They're both available in our Google Classroom at the top of the classwork tab. Take care.